So I was planning on having a defense, like I had a defense set out for the Clippers, and and today Pablo and I knew this was coming because Pablo had the threads. I noticed there was a tweet where he had the thread tweet, and I knew he was coming out with more. But I had a defense for the Clippers, and the Clippers just ruined its day at media day. Like I don't even know to have Lawrence Frank out there and march him out there, and then he's going to give that kind of an answer to what this should have all been able to be anticipated. Not Pablo's most recent podcast, but you knew that you were going to be asked questions for media day, and then to come up with you have Lawrence Frank out there just with really the same answer that Steve Ballmer gave. That was that was so bad. Like if anything, they should have just stuck to the line. Like we're not going into this. We're just going to focus on basketball right now. And so Lawrence Frank read off this script, which it comes across even worse when it's like obvious you're just reading a PR script. But then to answer the non-answer, to have the non-answer where it's like, what did he say? He said, and I have it pulled up here. Let me look. Let me see. I know I have this document up right now, but we'll get to Lawrence Frank in a moment. But he, to state that in respect to whether or not the Uncle Dennis knew and whether Kawhi knew, he said it's against all of the rules, or we all know the rules. Like, come on, That's what already Steve Ballmer already said, that it doesn't answer the question. If you're not going to answer the question, then just go ahead and admit that they did ask for it, because now it's obvious that they asked for it. But then he went on with it, and then he gave the horrible PR answer. And if that's their best response, like I had a defense all set for the Clippers, and to see them come up with that kind of response, I was just like, okay, you guys have really cemented yourself. And then Pablo, of course, has released the podcast today. So this was it. Like, you might as well just not have Walktel conduct the investigation, save yourself millions of dollars, and just call Steve Ballmer into the office at this point, because what's left? And let's go ahead and look at what Pablo came out with. So we have the December 2024 charity donation, and this really, it's like, how do you respond to this? Like, if you're the Clippers and I'm defending this, like, how am I going to respond to the fact that Steve Ballmer kept donating to him? And there's not really a way. Like, I had a defense where you start and you're just like, you have a wall and you're done. But then this comes out, and there's not really, like, you can't contort yourself to it. Let's see. You still have, let's see. We have Daniel, is Mark Cuban live tweeting team? Yeah, it's like, what is Mark? I want to see what Mark Cuban is tweeting now. I still have zero faith that Silver will act appropriately. Then I will have to boycott the NBA. Yeah, it's putting us in a bad position, because what do you do when this comes out, and then if the Clippers just go? So I had a defense, and the defense was basically like, hey, we're not involved with Kawhi, and at the same time, our independent dealings are basically amount to sunk cost fallacy. Hey, we put money in, we wanted them to succeed, and so we are going to keep going. And that was going to be my defense. In other words, I had a whole video outlined last night, and I didn't record it. But then today, Pablo releases more, and there's not much you can say after this. Like, what are you going to say for the Clippers? It already looked bad enough. You are already going to have to take a very general stance. The only way to have a defense here is to be very generalized, because you do not want to get into the specifics. And now it's like there's too much. Pablo is just piling on too much. And if we look at that Twitter thread, he had that it's not a ball of yarn. What is it called? There's like a spool of thread, it's a thread spool, however you pronounce it. And I knew he was going to keep going, and then today he kept going on media day. Perfect day for him, by the way. And now it's like, what did the Clippers do? Like, what are you going to say? Like, at this point, the Clippers, all they have is, hey, like, we look forward to the investigation. And if I'm the Clippers, like, what are you hoping for with that investigation? Like, I have to think that Walktel would legitimately investigate, like, and legitimately look into it. But let's see, All-Star game there being is criminal. Part of the punishment should be losing the All-Star game. I don't think there's any way that they lose the All-Star game, but I don't know why the NBA has to continue on with this charade. Like, can it be ended now? Like now, I mean, how much more does Pablo have to go into? And do you even want him to go into? So, if we look at like I think a few weeks ago, I published, I think I just can't remember if it's one or two. I published a video on what my response would be if I was the Clippers. I would have ended this right away. It was obvious that Pablo was in complete control, that he had more. I'm not going to want the NBA to continue looking into this. And they decided that they were going to wait and see. And that's not going to work. The difference here with every other time they go to this playbook, the difference is the documentation is out there. It's everyone can see it. So what is your plan B? Pat Bev says he's still owed 92 basketball courts for taking $10 million less. So yeah, and what is it? Pablo said that there's already the DeAndre Jordan, and I think Pablo had alluded to there being another investigation into salary cap circumvention, and then on top of that you have Uncle Dennis and Kawhi, and then going back to the ridiculous line from Lawrence Frank today, it's like, oh, okay, no, what did he say? Like, no, everybody knows the rules, and everybody's aware of the rules. He didn't say whether or not the rules have been broken. I can't believe Lawrence Frank sat out there today and that's what he went with. Like, that's what you knew what was coming, and that's what you're going to go with. Yeah, Daniel. So he was toying with them like the whole time. I kept writing this in the comments because some people were saying that, oh, he's following Mark Cuban's advice. Like, no, he's setting it up to make it look like he was following Mark Cuban's advice. He was just like, he's been playing this game the whole time. And I think Mark Cuban finally caught on when he rejected the next invite and then tweeted all weekend about it. And I think the NBA, I think it was the perfect trap. He waited for the exact right time to play this game. I don't know. One reason I wasn't talking about it earlier because I wanted it to unfold more organically, but so I didn't want to point out like, hey, this is what's going to happen. But that's exactly what's happened, and I don't know how effective it can be from here on out, but brilliant strategy from him, and he's still going. This is not even over yet, and he's just waiting to see what the reaction is, and then he'll keep going from there. So it's like, that's why originally I was thinking, hey, just say that you broke the rules, like, and if anybody like. If you say you broke the rules, like, how bad is it going to be? Like, I'm interested in what everyone's reaction is. If the Clippers had just come out and said, yes, we were hyper competitive and we went all in, we went too far, we admit we broke the rules, and we will not do this going forward, et cetera, et cetera. That's not nearly as bad as what they found themselves in now. So I don't. That you knew you were in an untenable position weeks ago, but yet you decided to continue forward. And I keep coming back. There's a tweet. I don't have it on the screen with me. We'll look at it in a moment. There's a tweet. Pablo has this spool of thread. You had to know what was coming. Every single question about circumvention, going to let the fraudster parade around, move it to Staples. Yeah, move the All-Star games. Yeah, they could actually do that. That's actually good. I mean, there's not usually the option for an alternate arena. So that's true. You could just walk on over to Staples and then have the All-Star game there and then have the Intuit Dome lose it. It's difficult because, yeah, so their future was already mortgaged. That's the other interesting part about this. There's not a lot of ways to go with this if you're the NBA and punishing them. Like, what are you going to do? They don't their first round picks. What is it? Is it 27 and 29? And then I think one of them or one or both of them are swaps. No, they're both swaps. 29 is top 3 protected. So you have to take those for sure. They're going to, like, I mean, now this has gotten so bad. Like, they're probably going to lose their 2030, and then if you want to really penalize them, you could look at 2031. But those are prized picks, like 2030 and 2031. Those are going to be really, really good picks. talking about trading. I'm guessing there's going to be a freeze on the Clippers picks while this investigation was going on. Let's see, they have no shame. This is why teams shouldn't be allowed to trade all their future picks, or how do you hurt them? Like Atlanta losing a baseball game. Yeah, so I mean, maybe so. This is up in the air because Pablo's really coming down with the right. Like at this point, like what is there? What are the Clippers holding on to? So Pablo's got them in this position where, what do you say at this point? Like I mean, all that's left is the punishment. It's already, this is a foregone conclusion. Like we've got it. I had a defense and I don't have a defense anymore. Like at this point, let's actually look on the screen here. We've got key evidence from episode 5. Steve Ballmer gave 1.875 million to charity to Joe Sandberg's Golden State Opportunity Foundation. That happened December 2024. So how do you respond to that? I as someone who was building a defense for the Clippers, I don't have one. Let's see. And then let's see. The next one, the text messages between aspiration executives. This to me this is compelling, but I don't go with it just because it's not the hard evidence. Like Pablo's got the hard evidence, like the Steve Ballmer donating 1.875. That's the hard evidence. The text messages between employees, you can start to manipulate that and say, well, it's not that compelling, it's not that strong. So it's not that it isn't interesting, it's not that it isn't relevant. It's just that that's not what I'm going to look to when I'm building this case or going back and forth with the case. The draft picks are interesting because the Clippers already went all in, and now there's like nothing left to go with. I don't know. It's a very interesting position that the NBA finds themselves in, especially they're not used to having someone front run them, and Pablo's just running away with this. Like I said in another video, it's Pablo mania. He is absolutely running wild on the NBA, and they don't even know where it ends. That's why would you? If I'm the NBA, I put an end to this right now. Otherwise, this is going to just continue on. For anyone my age, 50, the SMU death penalty for football, that's what taking away the rest of their picks would look like. So that's the other part of it. I talked about how it's actually bad for the NBA to have a team with no hope. Then what are you going to do, right? If you're the Clippers, you already had no hope. Now you really have no hope. What's left for them? Their future is extremely bleak, and it actually made me think of the Clipper curse, right? If you go back to it, the story is at least worth telling, right? It's at least worth revisiting that here you have this franchise that can't win ever. They get actually purchased by a billionaire who's going to change things around. He's got this great arena. He's willing to spend money. They bring in a superstar, and then it all falls apart. And now it's even worse than before. Let's see. So let's go to by the way, if you hear click-clacking, my dog's just behind me now. Let's go to the Uncle Dennis text to Sandberg. So, so now, oh no, this is to Sandberg. This is not to Uncle Dennis texting Sandberg. This is not to, now here's where the general counsel comes in. So the agent for Kawhi is involved. So now there goes the Uncle Dennis side of this. The Uncle Dennis side being like, oh, it's, we can just keep pointing to Uncle Dennis because he's not really, there's no rules for Uncle Dennis being an uncle. He's not a registered agent anyway. So now we can just say that, oh, it was all Uncle Dennis and everything's fine. Of course, now we know it was more that we have the agent directly involved. Let's see. Yeah, I followed Pablo's subscriber count too, and he's gone up at least 10,000 since this story started. And yeah, how can you not at this point? It's what does Pablo come up with next? I think there's got to be a part 6 to this. There has to be one more episode because it's not done. He's not concluded. And I don't think he's going to say it's his option, and he's playing it so nicely. So here we have Kawhi agent texts. So these were messages from Mitch Frankel to Aspiration. Can you tell me the status of the payment? Any update? I've never received an email. So yeah, this was an actual NBA agent that is shown on these texts. Which obviously, if the texts are false, then there's that. But Pablo has put together so much evidence. It's yeah. I mean, just going back, the charade needs to end. They'll be fine. You're blowing this out. How blowing this out of proportion? How is this being blown out of proportion? I I'm interested to see how is this blown out of proportion. The Clippers are completely done. Like, and in fact, to show you how done they are, you just have to watch the media day with Lawrence Frank and look at his responses. His responses were horrible. They would have been better off just saying we're focusing on basketball and then leaving this all to the side, because then at least they don't have to address it. You don't have anyone else addressing it. But now they don't. I mean, it's the hand is it was over to begin with. It was over before podcast 5, and now now what's left? I don't know. I don't know what possible defense there could be. So if there is a defense, it's going to be that, look, Steve Ballmer can do whatever he does with his personal money. Who else is it? Dennis Wong can do whatever he wants with his personal money. And as far as Kawhi Leonard, hey, his contract was his contract, and that's up to him. And we don't know anything about it. And the reason we don't know anything about it is because we're not supposed to know anything about it. And so I would leave it at that. Let's see. Ballmer and Dennis continue to run right through the rules in place specifically for them. This is blatantly obvious. I disagree, Demetrius. Plus, we have other similar stories. Pop, Brunson, and others. Mitch King, law is contract and contract is law. Go to any court and you will find out. Ballmer agreeing to follow CBA rules, then violating them is a form of law breaking, ruins competitive balance that everyone agreed to. So one thing that's important to note is that this isn't a civil matter. Of course, it's not a criminal matter, but it's not a civil matter. This is the NBA. So the NBA gets to decide, these are the NBA rules that are at stake, and the NBA gets to decide whatever they come up with on that. That's why it's going to be very interesting with so much pressure now on the NBA, on Adam Silver. Small market fan. Yeah, small market fan, and the competitive balance is why I'm mad. He knows the rules. The Clippers knows the rules. Uncle Dennis and Kawhi know the rules. Yeah, that was what I thought was bad. That was the point where I was like, this is really getting bad. It actually wasn't from podcast 5. Well, no. So the Steve Ballmer charity donation was especially bad. But what stuck out to me was Lawrence Frank. And he has that smile when he's saying, like, we know the rules, like, and he doesn't answer the question. Just don't take the question at all. That is the best way. It is not to have some generic response that Steve Ballmer has already said. That was, and they've thought about this. They've had so much time to come up with a strategy, and it was just like he walked out of his office and started taking questions, is what I got from that. So the Minnesota Timberwolves, and we have the Sacramento Kings, and then I grew up in San Antonio, so I was with the Spurs. The Spurs owner really didn't have any money. So I think I don't know if it's Peter Holt still the majority. You have Michael Dell now involved the ownership has there are several minority owners. I do think it's the Holt family that's still in charge. Now the Spurs were notorious for paying less, but I don't think there was any. I don't think there was any salary cap circumvention, because the Spurs just didn't. They weren't paying anybody. The Spurs were notoriously, let's call it, thrifty. But this really is bad for small market teams. That just the competitive balance, like, where is it at? And then I wanted to have this stream because I I actually was like, I wanted to respond to it, and I didn't want to actually create a formal podcast, so I thought I'd just talk about it because this is the reaction, and there doesn't need to be a complete dissection on this. This is it's fairly straightforward at this point. Let's see. Oh, one other thing that Pablo got into was the $20 million put option. So Kawhi got a $20 million in equity, and I just here these are I had AI extract notes from the transcript. Kawhi got $20 million in equity with a guarantee that he could sell it back for 20 million. Zero downside risk. If company fails, still gets money. So I don't think the fact that he had a put option, to me, that's not really anything. It's just the fact that he had $20 million and was guaranteed by Sandberg, and then Sandberg really pushed this through on his own. This wasn't like a company agreement. This was Sandberg coming up with this. Let's see. We have and then so there's the 2017 connection. So Steve Ballmer and Joe Sandberg's relationship going back to 2017, and so I don't know. I still think the Clippers were scammed. I think it just turned out. I don't think there's any way that the Clippers go into this knowing, hey, we are going to get scammed. I don't see that being the case. I think there was a connection here, and I think there were favors involved. Let's see. I like the contrarian point of view. This is from Demetrius. This is a victimless NBA crime, guys. Kawhi was always going to go back to LA, so it's not like any other team missed out on him. They paid him fair market value on the books, so they got no advantage. Well, I did think he was at the time. I did think he was going back to the Clippers, but I mean they definitely got an advantage, right? Because I'm guessing it looks here like Kawhi made a lot of his return, or not his return, but his going to the Clippers contingent on many things, and it looks like part of it was the demands that Uncle Dennis was making. Let's see. Yeah, but how much is Ballmer paying you? That's the other part. I haven't seen too many Clippers Steve Ballmer defenders other than well, Demetrius. I don't even know if Demetrius is defending them so much as saying that this is a victimless crime. So saying that there is a salary cap circumvention. So here it's the Bill Simmons response, which what Bill Simmons was saying. Well, look, if this did happen, nobody was hurt, victimless crime. That the Clippers got him. They weren't good. They made what they got out of the first round. How many times? So no championships were had, and now they're just in this state where they're decent, but they're probably like a first round and out team, maybe second round and out, and that's it. But I think it's not so much what the Clippers are doing, but more just that they were able, potentially the Lakers could have got Kawhi. Potentially, we saw that the Raptors lose him, and they had won a championship. So I think that's the swing. That's one of the primary swings that's in play. Worst case scenario at this point, well, now it's really bad. The worst case scenario is that I think they lose their 2030 and 2031 first round pick. Steve Ballmer and Dennis Wong, maybe others are suspended. I don't know. So someone had a punishment. I saw a punishment video. I made a punishment video. The other one had them only getting suspended 1 year. I put 2, but it might be because they had. It might be because they have a cap in place on how long they can be suspended. But this is so bad, and I think it's made worse. I think that the punishment could have been lighter if this could have ended sooner, but they had to go forward. And now Pablo's not. I don't think he's done. I think he's still. I think there is still work to be uncovered. Those 7 months right now, he's reaping the rewards of that research. Worst case scenario is that not enough punishment is doled out. This needs to be a strong message, and it can't just be strong when everyone is in agreement, or you have more people. There's just a general agreement that that this is bad and it needs to go. And what I'm getting at here is when what's his face? What is his name? The previous Clippers owner, Donald Sterling. Silver came down especially hard on Donald Sterling, but that was easy. I don't want to that at the time that was extremely easy. And of course, there was the free speech matter and that this was a private conversation, but everyone had already everyone had moved on from Donald Sterling, and you notice how emphatic Adam Silver was then. I want to see him be that emphatic now, and I'm not saying I think that Steve Ballmer should be exiled. What I am saying is that you have to have the same standard, whoever it is, and it doesn't matter whether he is Steve Ballmer or it's Donald Sterling. You have to approach this the same. It doesn't matter if it's the Timberwolves or the Clippers. You approach this the same. Let's read some more comments. The Clippers are cursed, even if it's self-inflicted. The fans suffer. It looks that way. This is, you have a team that was supposed to be turning it around, and now they are going the exact opposite. The Clippers are going to be bad for infinity years. They will not punish them hard enough. I cannot come up with an appropriate one. NBA should clean up now or risk it happening again. Yeah, this needs to be addressed, and there's not a way around it. When even listening to Adam Silver, now I don't have a background on what the NBA, how this is approached as far as determining guilt, and so Adam Silver says, "Hey, the burden's on us," as well it should be. But when he was talking, it sounded like, look, the Clippers have every chance to have this not come back to them. And it sounded like he didn't want it to come back to them. And it's like, it's not going to be enough that there's, and if you look in the CBA, it says that cannot be rationally explained, but it sounded like Silver was giving them every last opportunity. And at this point, what's left? I don't see anything that's left. Yeah. They did have, there needed to be something done. You couldn't just have Donald Sterling there. But with this, you also just can't have someone that's paying money on the side. So yeah, it was deserved with Donald Sterling. Like the league had to do something, right? Like private conversation or not, it was, the Clippers were in a bleak place then. So now they're in a bleak place for a different reason, but there still needs to be the punishment to go along with it. The Clippers chose to move from Buffalo and San Diego to be the Lakers' little bro. They chose this life. How is that cursed? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the Clippers do from here. There's not much. There's not, like, what is there left? I'm interested to see what y'all think. Like, where does this go from here? Does the NBA not come up with any finding until after the All-Star break? Is that the right path forward, or are you just going to let this story hang over the NBA the whole time, or are you going to decide, oh well, hey, guess what? Wachtell concluded their investigation sooner. The chance in the opposing arenas should be fun. Kawhi is going to get the Houston Astros trash treatment. Yeah, the Kawhi even playing is interesting, right? Because now he's going to answer questions. I don't know. Did anybody see if he had to answer questions on media day? I don't even know. I didn't look at it. I didn't see if there was anything involved for it. I'd be surprised if somebody didn't ask him. But of course, Kawhi's answer, his response is going to be, I don't know. That's not. I'm focused on basketball. But it'd be interesting to see if he was even asked about it. But he was on the Spurs team. The Spurs wanted to sign him so bad. One other potential video I was thinking about was just like how, hey, look, with Kawhi, listen to him. Like, if he doesn't want to be there, just let him go. Because now it's turned out much, much better for the Spurs that he was never there. They didn't even have to get Uncle Dennis. Not Uncle Dennis. They didn't even have to get Victor Wembanyama. Now they don't have to even deal with him. Like, look what he's done. Look what he's done to the Clippers. This is, this isn't completely on Kawhi, because the Clippers also did it to themselves, but he was able to get that leverage and work work them over for the extra payments. Seems like they're setting up Uncle Dennis to be the fall guy. Yeah, like you saw a lot of that, and it was easy. It was easy with Uncle Dennis because he's not. There's no rules for Uncle Dennis. He's the uncle. He's not an agent, so it didn't matter what Uncle Dennis came up with. The NBA will drag it out for a year. People won't care by the time the verdict comes out. I think people will care. I think people will care about this one. This one's different. In the past, it's been like, think about it in the past situations, and I'm not talking about the NBA specifically, but let's just look at this generally. In the past, it could be, hey, we're looking into this, and we'll let you know what we find. This one's different because the findings are public; they're published. So I don't think it's going to work out like that. Always was a rule preventing. Let's see. Yeah, I think what was the someone reported that Kawhi was there in the room, like I think part of the story is that Kawhi's not really a part of this. He just lets Uncle Dennis do whatever, and then that's the result. But Kawhi, I mean, even if that was the case, you're still the player. You're still signing the contract. You're still involved here, so you can't just escape it that way. Let's see. Um, let's see if I have any more. There are any more notes from this. Oh, so one other point that I keep forgetting is that Kawhi is never going to get this money from Aspiration, right? They're bankrupt. He's not getting that money. There can be no more circumvention here, right? So Kawhi, I heard what was it on Bill Simmons' podcast? They were talking, and I think it was Van Lathan said that Kawhi's heartbeat is not going to go up like one at all. It might have, because Kawhi's actually going to lose money here. There's not going to be a way to have any more money transfer back and forth. So Kawhi is definitely going to lose out of this. Um, let's see, if Kawhi had done a couple of tweets and videos for the company, this wouldn't be happening. Actually, so it might not be like possibly, but the other side of this is that he needed to provide something close to $28 million in value, and at the time, I'm just saying for that contract at the time. So a few tweets and a video wouldn't have been enough. I actually talk about this in another. I actually do have a video on this one. Just a few tweets wouldn't have been enough. There would have needed to be value, because then we could have just said, well, like, how much are your tweets worth? And let's say the tweets are worth, I don't know, $100,000 a piece. Well, we're going to need to see those add up, and we could use other comparisons like the other celebrities, what they got. We could look at his New Balance contract. Okay, what are you doing to receive this money? And then we could bring that forward. But it says in the CBA that it says right there in the CBA that there has to be the fair market value has to be in line. So that's a way to prevent salary cap circumvention. But it's just similar, in the law. Like, we look to see, is there actually fair market value being provided? I've got to text someone. I'm going to text someone right back. Generational hater. The mounting evidence is inexplicable at this point. There is no logical reason for any of this outside of what obviously happened. Cap circumvention. Yeah, there's not. I tried to come. I had a defense prepared last night. I had worked it out in the weekend. I was thinking through. Okay, if I'm the Clippers, what's my defense going to be? And it fell to pieces today. So I actually wish I had that video. Because then there'd be no contortion left after that video, and that was looking at this in the most innocent light possible for the Clippers, but it's not there anymore. What are you going to say? The option. Let's see. I'm locked in. I will be reciting this stuff during All-Star Weekend on social media to remind everybody. Oh yeah, someone wrote. let's see. I think you're overestimating people's attention span. People will get bored of this story before long. No, I mean, so there was a lull here in the last week where there wasn't that the attention had died down, but I think this is going to keep coming back up, and I think in part thanks to Pablo, because Pablo can just drip feed small bits of information over and over again. There's no telling how much he has. I mean, he has literally thousands of documents, and he's also locked in. He's also he's got the connection with the employees. So the employees are, I'm assuming they're the ones that are just sending him over all of these documents. He took $49 million less not to sign with Toronto and got $48 million, and all the money he in 4 years to not the 5 which Toronto would have paid. So one other defense I had for the Clippers is like, look, like if we wanted to circumvent the salary cap, then all we needed to do was just pay him directly. Like we could have not paid him directly, but we could have paid him all of this money. We didn't need to string this along over 4 years. Mark Cuban brought that up, and it's true. That would be the Clippers' best response here. Is like, hey, this wasn't salary cap circumvention, because why would we do it this way? We could have made this so much easier on ourselves. Jalen Brunson. Now definitely Pablo. I think Pablo actually talked about Jalen Brunson. And mentioned that might be something that he looks into next, and I think that's definitely one. When we look at Jalen Brunson, what did he take? What was it, like $115 million less if he had just waited a year before signing an extension? And then same thing with Dirk, 3 years, 25, when he had the max offers from the Lakers and the Rockets. I don't know how. So let's see. Amin actually brought up a good point today. He was talking about the statute of limitations. And again, I don't know if there is a statute of limitations with the NBA. The CBA is public. I know that. I don't know how many other documents are public, like the recent documents. There's someone who actually posts NBA documents, like when I talk about documents like bylaws and rules and so forth. Some of them are quite long. There's an account that has older versions of them. But as far as newer versions, I don't think the NBA makes them like openly available, although I think you can find traces of them. But that's a good one to look at, is like whether or not you can, what the statute of limitations is here. Like, could we look into Dirk from, 2014? I can't remember that last contract. It was early. It was like 2010 to 2014. Knicks are shady as a team in general. This is from Generational Hater. Did you watch the Pablo episode on Jonte Porter and Malik Beasley betting scandal? No, I haven't seen that yet. So I found out about Pablo somewhat recently because of Bill Simmons. And so because when Bill Simmons had his one-on-one with him, then I looked into them, and then that led to me. I would have found out about this anyway. But then I started looking into more of Pablo. I just haven't had a chance to really. He's got some episodes that look worth watching. There's been so much content lately. I haven't been able to look into that for Pablo. Let's see here. Let's see. What's the late Demetrius? I don't know how effective the drip approach from Pablo will be during the season. I think this story will really benefit. That's true. This story came along at the exact right time, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Pablo actually planned it for like the dead of summer, right before the season starts, but really good timing from him. A max fine of $7.5 million is ridiculous. They should pull. So I think that's what will happen, though. I think Kawhi's contract will be canceled, and if it's canceled, that's the other part that I forgot to mention earlier. If it's canceled, then Kawhi really loses money. Because then it's a matter of like what another team will sign him for. And then if you're another team, do you really want to sign Kawhi to a large contract? I wouldn't. Let's see. Bill Simmons has been awfully silent on this. He knows where his bread is buttered. So yeah, that'd be another interesting point. And by the way, you're going to hear dogs barking in a second. But yeah, like how much I haven't watched enough Bill Simmons episode. I know he's been I know he's been covering the NFL, but this would be, I mean, this story is definitely one that would be in his wheelhouse. Let's see, it's kind of funny that Bomber and Pablo graduated from the same school with magna, magna cum laude honors. Yes, it is. Uh, yeah, Pablo actually, so you reminded me on the NBA coverage, Pablo actually had a collage of ESPN snippets from this episode 5, and in that collage you can see the light response from ESPN. I think the Kings would waive and stretch their entire roster just to give Kawhi a max. Probably the Kings. I would really like to see the Kings go back to their heyday where they had first you had Jason Williams, then you had Mike Bibby, but you had Chris Webber there the whole time. Scott Pollard. That was a cool team, and I think they. I see them as the 2002 NBA championships, but I can see that from the Kings. They don't have too many. There's not too much they can do. No, they can only overpay, which is like a really difficult place to be. Uh, let's see what else. The Kings had a chance there though. If they'd have kept Tyrese Halliburton, he's going to stay with the Pacers. So if they'd have kept Tyrese Halliburton, then they would have been. I think the Kings would have been in good shape, and they could have built from there, because this guy, he proved last in the playoffs that he is a superstar. He just got injured, and so his play had sunk, but now he's right there. But yeah, the Kings. I mean, it's always going to be difficult for the Kings. It's always going to be difficult for the Kings. They're just they're always climbing uphill. And then of course we have the Lakers trade. That would have never happened to the Kings, where Luka is traded to the Kings, but to the Lakers it happens. Yeah, Sabonis is good, but he's in that in between spot where it's like he's good, he's got the stats, but he's not like he also got that. I think he got a really big contract, so again, showing the Kings have to overpay. But he's not a legit superstar. What is he like? I think he probably definitionally falls into the star category. Uh, yeah, I think Tyrese he does seem like he would have stayed. Like I mean I think I've heard him say as much, but like just from the impression I get from him, he does seem like he would have stayed. OKC is the new template. OKC is the new template for if you are able to rip off the Clippers when Kawhi demands that they get everything, then you have a good template. I mean that's why OKC is in the place they're at. Uh, the Jonathan Kaminga situation is interesting because it seems like actually not a good path forward for either party. Because if Kaminga takes he doesn't want to have a year where he's getting, what is it, 7 million for, is it the minimal? Um, and then if you're the Warriors, you don't really want him either. But the Warriors don't want to lose an asset for nothing. So it's definitely an in between situation where what what path do you take if you're either one of those? And I haven't paid close attention to it, but it does seem like there's a reason for the impasse. I can get on both sides why. Like if you're the Warriors, like why am I going to let a young prospect just go? But at the same time, I don't really like his disposition. Like he's never seemed like he's good there. Like just from the quotes. And then also Steve Kerr doesn't play him, so I can understand it from his point of view. Why? Like you have Steve Kerr who just decides, hey, I'm not going to play him or play these guys. And you saw it with Team USA. Wasn't it Jason Tatum that he wouldn't play? It's strange that he does that. I'm just reading through the comments now. Kaminga has all the star talent, but I question what's between the ears. OKC's moves mostly took place before new CBA rules. Now firsts are worth more again for cheap contracts. Yeah, that's a good point. The first round picks are worth so much more because then you lock in a talent. It doesn't have to be a star, but you at least lock in a talent without the high contract. Teams can't just decide to make what roster changes to follow what OKC did. Uh, I mean, yeah, they traded Westbrook, but you have to look. It's the Paul George trade that sticks out. I mean, if Kawhi Leonard never demands Paul George come to the Clippers, then where's OKC now? They didn't win the championship last year, so what do you do? Like there's not. OKC. I mean, they're set for the next, how, I don't know, 25 years, because they're just going to be able to roll those assets forward over and over again, so they can keep trading and keep trading and keep getting replenished. Who's your team? San Antonio Spurs. Although I really dislike what Greg Popovich was doing right before, and I really dislike the what's his last name, Mitch Johnson hire. I wish the person I was looking for was Sean Elliott. No one else was calling for Sean Elliott but me. But I wanted Sean Elliott to be the coach. We saw what Mitch Johnson had to do for a year, and he was okay. Like, he wasn't. You have a team. They were going to put up some wins anyway, no matter who was the coach. So he was okay. But I just, to me, I would want a new coach, and someone that wasn't someone who had been instilled by Greg Popovich. Yeah. If they didn't sign Kawhi, they'd still have Shea. Kuminga can put up a big number. But what are the? Yeah, for Jonathan Kuminga, it's just a bad overall situation. I think Kerr is not partly. I mean, well, yeah, definitely partly, but significantly to blame for that. Kerr has, this goes to why the NBA championships aren't an absolute that you're good. Like, yeah, Kerr won an NBA championship, true, but also look at how, part of being a coach is being able to handle the players, and like, look at how he's handled Draymond, and then he's handled Kuminga. Like, you can't have this talented guy and then also not play him at the same time. 25 years. Well, so if they, my thought on the 25 years is that if they keep rolling those forward, like, because they have too many draft picks as it is, and they can't really take all of this talent. So they already have a lot of talented role players. So if they're able to trade those and just kick the can on them, then they can move their assets forward. That's what I was getting at. OKC is winning in a building that's falling apart and links on them. Tired of there, they can't compete. Oh no, the stadium thing. Oh, that's definitely a video I want to have coming up. I cannot stand the new stadiums. And I'd be all for the stadiums if the teams were paying for them, but not the public. So NBA being way too fluid for a guaranteed 25 run. I mean, yeah, I didn't guarantee a 25 run, but I get your point. Like, it's far into the future, but we'll come back. Come back to the channel in 25 years. We'll see how it played out for OKC. I think once you get into a situation where you're just so asset rich, especially relative to the rest of the teams, then it's going to be hard for you to be bad for a long, long time. Like, can you imagine, like, when would the next time the Thunder would be bad? When's the next time the Thunder are going to be bad? It's going to be a while before they take a dip. Now, I'm not saying they'll win it. I'm not saying they'll even be in the conference finals every year, but they're going to be competitive for a long, long time. Yeah, Sean Elliott. If you listen to, so when the Spurs drafted Victor, I watched almost every game that season, and so I used to watch the Spurs all the time. I stopped when Victor came along. I started rewatching, and he's so interesting to watch. But then listening to Sean call the games, Sean knows this team inside and out, and he's also got the experience. I think he would have been a really good guy, a new type of fresh guy to give the head coaching job to, someone that was still within the Spurs, because we know the Spurs, they don't want to hire some random guy. Like, they're not just going to hire a guy in isolation. They want someone who's familiar with the team. So I think, to me, Sean Elliott made a lot of sense. There was talk about Manu. Manu didn't. I don't think Manu was ever in it to be the coach. Tim Duncan is definitely not a coaching material. He doesn't want to be there. He likes to help, but I'm sure he likes to pitch in. But he doesn't want to. I've never got the impression that Tim wanted to be the coach, and Sean, I think, would be the coach, but he's the broadcaster. But they went with Mitch Johnson, which I didn't see it. Let's see. Depends how their stars do with injuries. Very true. Chet could easily be injured. Yeah, that could easily happen. He's so thin. Nothing against him though. He's really good. Like he's a really, and he's not only really good, but he went ahead and just went with the OKC role that he was given, just because their team is so talented at this point, and he's provided everything they needed, but he can give a lot more. The only thing he can't do is just he has that slight frame. So if you're going to put him at center, then he's not going to be able to withstand some of those bigger bodies. And that's some of the criticism I had for the Spurs, is like they're always so cautious about sitting out Victor, but then if you're sitting out Victor, or if you're going to sit him out for all of that time, it doesn't make sense that you're also marching him out against these huge centers. Uh, yeah, the side NBA discussion from the original Clippers scandal. But yeah, I think we covered the Clippers. The Clippers. There's not too much. There's not too much. There's really nowhere to go here. Pablo has boxed them in, and so they're stuck. I don't know what to say about it. I'm sure I'll come up with another topic, but I think it's where do you go if you're the Clippers from here? I think that from now the coverage is on the story. How long have I been watching the Spurs? Since I think I started watching them, like really watching them in '93 is when I actually started watching them. So and then in the mid to late '90s, I was watching almost every game, and then I didn't watch as many games in the 2000s, but I was watching a fair amount of games, and then probably I don't even know when at some point I stopped watching them completely, just because I had to do other things. But then it was also in part because I didn't like the way the team was being run. So I've disagreed with a lot of what Greg Popovich has done for a long time. I actually uh, I had a lot of problems with the way Greg Popovich coaches and the way he runs the team. So it was, and then just watching how they after you saw the team go from contender to really like a floundering borderline playoff team. It wasn't that they were a borderline playoff team. It was a lot of it was just in fact the way that they were going about it. And I also didn't like them openly tanking like that and then pretending like they weren't. It just I just didn't. And then they tanked the year when they got Victor and Victor's rookie season. So that was especially bad for the Spurs. But and now you have Mitch Johnson. Uh, I don't know. That's all I had. I wanted to cover. I wanted to have a stream to cover the Clippers. Uh, big news in the league, and the Clippers are done. And now it's the pressure's on Adam Silver to see what he comes up with. And I think this I would I'll be somewhat surprised, mildly surprised, if they just keep this going. If they just keep letting this play out in the news cycle, that would be surprising to me, because this is horrible for the NBA, and this is going to be one of those things that's talked about for years to come, and they're just going to let it go. That, to me, that doesn't make sense. So I could see a scenario um, where they stop, where they go ahead and just call it a day, and let this come to an end. Um, do I think Tim or David was better? Tim was definitely more skilled, but David Robinson in his prime, like when he wasn't. So one thing that holds David back from the way he's remembered is that David, in the last part of his career, his back was hurt all the time. He didn't. He just didn't. He didn't let on, like, right. So David wasn't making excuses, but he was towards the latter end of his career. He was hurting a lot, and then Shaquille O'Neal came in. And Shaquille O'Neal is weighing like he's weighing like literally easily 350 to 400, and David's frame just could not withstand that. And so you had this outlier that was wreaking havoc. Early on, David did fine against Shaquille O'Neal, and Shaquille was actually very athletic at that time, but then as the years went on, Shaquille was having his way. So Tim or David was better. Tim was definitely better overall, but David, that is to say, I think David is underrated into what he could do in his time. I hope Pablo protects himself. Yeah, so Pablo, it's a risky proposition by Pablo. How closely has the Ringer been following this story? I don't know about the Ringer. Bill Simmons, not that closely. I haven't listened to all of his podcasts, but I think he's touched on it somewhat. Yeah, and David, you're right. David lost not a lot of his prime, but like a few years of his early career being in the military. The problem with David Robinson is he didn't really have a skill set for the NBA. He just had freakish athleticism, and then he took that as far as he could, which was the MVP of the league. But watching him, you could tell it really wasn't something where, like, he wasn't fluid, like basketball fluid. Like when you watch Kevin Durant, fluid basketball wise. When you watch David Robinson, you just see someone who could do anything athletically, and he really could. Like, I think if he was in this generation, like you'd see so much attention. You'd see so much attention surrounding David because of what he could do. So, yeah, I think his career is somewhat lost in the archives because there was, well, first of all, a lot of people didn't know he was injured for probably the last half of his career, and then also people, like, he was played so early on, you just didn't get to see it. You can see it in the highlights, but it's just a lot of people don't realize. The NBA should hire a protection team for Pablo because their reputation would completely tank if anything happened to him. Oh, good. Yeah, good. I didn't see that one coming. Yeah. I mean, Steve Ballmer is I don't know what rank he is, but he's in the top 10. He's in the top 10 richest people. Thanks for joining, Daniel. It's good talking to you. Yeah, I think I'll have more live streams, but for now, I just wanted to cover this because I don't know if there was actually a Pablo live stream. It gets undercovered, right, for reasons we all are aware of. The media doesn't really like to cover this story. So I wanted to cover this story, and I'll continue to cover the story. But I think this is a good place to end. I don't have anything more on the Clippers scandal. I think I've covered everything in this document. I will have another video on Lawrence Frank's response because I think Lawrence Frank's response deserves its own video. And just how bad it was, especially given how much time he's had to prepare and how much time the Clippers have prepared. But I'll go ahead and end this stream now. Thanks to everyone for joining.